Lagos Talks
91.3.
News.
President Muhammadu Buhari has promised not to allow intimidations of any sort, whether materially, morally or physically, during the 2023 elections. Speaking when he received the APC governors at the State House yesterday, he warned that the kind of leadership which thrives on intimidation will not benefit the nation. The president further assured Nigerians that the APC will continue to bequeath strong political institutions which reflect their choices, citing the outcome of polls in Ekiti, Anambra, and recently Osun states as cogent indicators. Meanwhile, the Progressives Governors Forum, the PGF, has appealed to members of the Academic Staff Union of Universities ASUU to suspend its 7-month-old nationwide strike in the interest of students and the country at large. The chairman of the forum and governor of Kebbi State, Atiku Bagudu, who made the appeal after a meeting with President Buhari and Vice President Professor Yemi Osinbajo at the State House, reminded lecturers and stakeholders of the implications of their actions, which he says will affect the country's image.
During a Salah visit we paid to President in Daura, Mr. President appealed to ASUU and said ASUU should be mindful about the future of the next generation. He didn't play blame game. He spoke as a father. I think he even went further to say, even if ASUU has been offended, they should please think about the next generation. I think that is the best manly statement that can come. And all of us are appealing to ASUU in particular, and indeed all stakeholders. Let us do what will ensure that we don't miss out. Nigeria is competing with other countries. We do not have the luxury of time, so we'll continue to urge all stakeholders to do the same.
That was the chairman of the Progressive Governors Forum, Atiku Bagudu. The governors who paid a visit to the vice president to felicitate with him after a successful surgery last month also underscored the need for Nigerians to have confidence in the nation's healthcare professionals to reduce medical tourism.
I just mentioned how happy we are that the vice president showed confidence in and he drew our attention to something that we didn't know. He said that in other countries, medical professionals can advertise their skills. In Nigeria, there is a professional code of conduct that denies them the opportunity. So he invited us to look at that so that we can also maybe put pressure so that Nigerian medical professionals can be at par with their professionals in the world, meaning that we will know the capacity and competencies that are here locally, and I'm sure that will boost medical tourism.
Director of Press and Public Relations, Federal Minister of Education, Mr. Ben Guang, had slammed the ASUU as well, saying the federal government has addressed 80% of the union's demands and the latest indefinite extension of the strike was irrational. Chief Executive Officer of the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation Limited, Mr. Mele Kyari, has declared that Nigeria will stop importation of petroleum products by 2023. Correspondent Raliat Adeniko in Abuja reports that Kyari, who gave the assurance during the State House weekly media briefing at the presidential villa, said the combination of output from the Dangote refinery, where Nigeria owns 20% stake, scheduled to begin next year, and state-owned refineries will eliminate any importation, while the federal government has also borrowed $1 billion from a Flexim bank for rehabilitation of the country's refineries.
When we are done with our own refineries and the Dangote refinery, very many other small initiatives that we are doing, small modular condensate refineries that we are building, if that happens, and we are very optimistic it will happen, you will see that this country will now be a net exporter. As a matter of fact, it will be a hub of export of petroleum products, not just to the West African sub-region, but to the rest of the world. This will happen. The flow of supply will change. By middle of next year, it will change. So you will have no need for importation of petroleum product into this country by middle. I don't know this. So the combination of that and our own ability to bring back our refinery will completely eliminate any importation of petroleum product into this country next year. You will not see any importation into this country next year. Borrowing for the refinery. We're borrowing from the Afrexim Bank, and we also borrowed $1 billion for this purpose.
Mele Kyari also decried huge crude oil theft resulting in a substantial loss in production, adding that crude oil theft robs the country of at least 700,000 barrels per day.
I can tell you in one line, just less than 200 kilometers, we had 295 illegal connections. It's impossible for any oil company to continue to operate. When you say you are losing 700,000 barrels per day of crude oil, we mean it. This is opportunity lost. There is no company that will produce oil and then you lose 80% of that and continue to produce the oil. So we deliberately shut down the pipelines whenever we see these infractions getting to a limit that we cannot control, that are not possible to be managed. So that means as we speak today, we know for sure there is at least 700 lock-ins that we could have produced that we can't do because we cannot guarantee the safety of the pipeline. Of course, there are some technical issues. Needless to say that not 100% of that is due to theft. There are technical issues. We are responding to the technical issue, but majority of this is associated with reasons around crude oil.
The Chief Executive Officer of the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporations Limited disclosed that 122 persons have been arrested for oil theft between April and August this year. Countering the allegation asserted by the Chief of Naval Staff recently, NNPC boss denied the involvement of his workers as regards crude theft.
I'm very, very convinced that the Chief of Naval Staff is misquoted. He could not have said that NNPC is conniving to steal from the terminal. I'm very, very doubtful, and I have very fruitful and constant engagement with the Chief of Naval Staff. The vessel in question was the vessel that is arrested at Equatorial Guinea. Are they doing it on behalf of the institutions? Absolutely not. There are criminals everywhere, and there are also good people everywhere. And I believe that majority of my workers are good people. But I'm not saying that there are no bad people in NNPC. They may be there, and they will be the part of the people that I told you will deal with them. Government will deal with them, will take them out.
And now we look at other stories in politics. Presidential candidate of the APC, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, has pledged that he will be guided by what is right and not what is comfortable if elected as the president of Nigeria next year. Tinubu, in a message on his official Twitter handle, called on his party members and Nigerians not to allow the forthcoming 2023 presidential election slip away by letting power fall into what he described as the wrong hands. Reminding Nigerians that the 2023 elections may be the last chance to get it right, the APC national leader assured Nigerians that if elected, his government will embark on development, growth, industrialization, peace, and progress. A delegation of APC stakeholders from Enugu State, including federal government officials, has called for the removal from office of the present chairman of the Enugu State All Progressives Congress, Mr. Ugochukwu Agbala, and his executive. Chief Gbazwagu Nweke Gbazwagu, speaking on behalf of the delegation led by Senator Ken Namani, former President of the Senate, Mr. Jeffrey Onyema, Honorable Minister of Foreign Affairs Sullivan Chime, immediate past governor of Enugu State, amongst others, had stated that Ugochukwu Agbala runs the party as a private entity and disregards statesmen.
We are here because we want a strong, viral party in Enugu State. And we have demanded from the National Working Committee, chaired by the National Chairman, that the state chairman of the party in the state, by extension, the party ESCO in the state, be dissolved. And a caretaker committee is set up. That's why we came. We want the party to succeed in Enugu State. But the current chairman has appropriated the party as a private estate in disregard to all.
Chief Nweke Gbazwagu further noted that the delegation has made its case known to the National Working Committee of the APC and ward executives of the chairman in Enugu State and has suspended Agbala from the party.
So if the right thing is being done by the party chairman in the state, you don't think that this honorable minister and all of us here will come to the party secretariat for Jamboree. But seeing us here, it has nothing to do with the person of Ugabara. It has to do with his performance, his character and characteristics, his leadership style. There are a lot of people who have left the party because of him, and we cannot leave the party for him because he just joined the party not less than 1 week.
Borno State government has launched an ambitious school enrollment program for thousands of children displaced by the Boko Haram jihadist insurgency. The state governor, Babagana Zulum, launched the initiative in Mongono town, where victims of the conflict have been staying in camps after being displaced from their communities. Some 7,000 children were registered to primary and junior secondary schools in the first phase of the program on Sunday and Monday. The authorities say many of the beneficiaries are children orphaned by the violence. They say the project is targeting more than 20,000 children across the state. In Lagos, the state governor, Babajide Sanwo-Olu, says the government has touched over 1,000 education projects in the state in fulfilling the theme's agenda, while declaring open a 2-day education summit. In the state, the governor noted that the results of WAEC in public schools in the last 3 years of his administration is a testament that the state's investment in the sector is working positively.
We're also doing that in tandem with looking at the welfare, and the need, of our teachers. How well are we ensuring that our teachers in the classroom, that they work, and the environment in which they pass on the skills that have been well improved upon. These are some of the things that I'm sure the ministry will be showing and will explain, to you in the course of today and tomorrow.
And organizers of the Nigeria Broadcasting Awards, the TNBA, have announced a call for entries and also unveiled the Judges Committee for the prestigious ceremony slated for some time after November. A list of judges and their pedigree were announced at a conference held in Lagos on Tuesday to instill confidence in voters and nominees alike. The committee members, drawn from media houses, advertisers, regulators and broadcast veterans, include Malam Bello Sule, Emeka Mba, Aro Leonard, Deborah Odutayo, Susan Agbo, Kayode Olowu and Stella Eromose. According to the chairman of the BON and CEO of MultiChoice, Mr. John Ugbe, the Broadcasting Awards is born out of a need to celebrate and reward excellence of broadcast media professionals responsible for providing daily information, public enlightenment, and entertainment to Nigerians. TNBA lead consultant Jenkins Alumona, who spoke to our correspondent, said the awards will have about 13 categories, while the simple technicalities for voting will be announced in the coming days on newspapers and social media.
This is an attempt to reward excellence in the broadcasting industry, believing that it will also propel better efforts. The awards should hold on a date to be announced in November, because that also will be an event itself to announce that date. Just like today we announced the call to entries, so it's part of what it will hold in November. When your colleagues reward you, it carries more weight, we believe. Your colleagues saying you're the best in your industry. The judges have been selected by BON itself based on rigorous research. They include Mr. Emeka Mba, Aro Leonard, Bello Usman. These are people who have a lot of background in the industry. But also don't forget that people at home, viewers and listeners, are also going to vote.
Chairman of the Awards Steering Committee, Mr. Guy Maury Bruce, said earlier expressed hope that the awards will encourage broadcast media professionals to greater standards of practice, whilst also inspiring a younger generation. Award categories include Best Radio Television Station of the Year, Best Radio and TV News, Best Radio TV Station with Indigenous Language, and Best Radio TV Original Production in English and Indigenous Language. Others include awards for Best Radio TV Documentary, Best Radio TV Show, Newscaster of the Year, Radio TV Presenter of the Year, and special contributions to the broadcast industry. Outside the country, authorities in Kenya have unveiled a new generation motor vehicle registration plates to deal with forgery, duplication, and the swapping of plates. The new number plates will have unique serial numbers and other inbuilt security features to enable the tracing of vehicle ownership. Speaking at the launch, Kenya's Interior Minister, Fred Matiang'i, said it will also ensure due taxes are paid on vehicles imported in the country. Car owners in Kenya will pay $25 to obtain the new plates, which can be acquired from the month of October. The government aims to change plates belonging to 4.8 million vehicles within the next 1 year. Elsewhere, South Africa's President Cyril Ramaphosa has said the country is not a xenophobic nation. His remarks follows comments made by a provincial health minister, Dr. Pofi Ramatuba to a Zimbabwean patient undergoing treatment from a car accident, which were viewed as blaming foreign nationals for the country's ailing healthcare system. The president said the health official raised an important issue on how the provision of services is affected by migration, but should not have used a different platform to raise her concerns. President Ramaphosa also said the country's Home Affairs Department was working to address challenges brought on by migration to ensure that the rule of law was adhered to. It's straight to business news where Minister of Finance, Budget and National Planning Dr. Zainab Ahmed says there are no projections that Nigeria will default in the debt services in the nearest future. Speaking at a hearing on the 2023-2025 Medium-Term Expenditure Framework organized by the House of Reps Committee on Finance, Ms. Zainab Ahmed said although the amount currently used in servicing debt in the country had overshot what was appropriated for in the budget, systems had been put in place to manage the situation.
Is over what we projected and planned in the budget. In the budget, what we had planned was 60% revenue to debt. But we have had some months where the ratio goes up to 90%. But because in the budget we also provide for debt service and consistently as revenue is accruing, we have a sinking fund where every month we take a certain proportion of revenue and put in the sinking fund. We have been able to consistently, without fail, service our debts. And we don't have any projections, even in the near future, that will fail because we actually follow a medium-term debt management strategy very, very strict. The debts are not taken haphazardly. They are planned, they are appropriated, and then we borrow against appropriation.
According to the Debt Management Office, Nigeria's debt profile as of December 2021 stood at 39.55 trillion naira. And in sports news, Bournemouth manager Scott Parker has been sacked by the newly promoted Premier League club. The sack, the first coach to fall victim this season, comes 3 days after Bournemouth were beaten 9-0 by Liverpool at Anfield for their third successive defeat. And Premier League action continued midweek with 4 games played. Chelsea lost away at Southampton 2-1. Fulham beat Brighton 2-1. Leeds held Everton to a 1-1 draw, while Crystal Palace and Brentford were also ended 1-1. Match day 5 fixtures continues tonight with Arsenal hosting Aston Villa, Bournemouth play Wolverhampton Wanderers, Manchester City face Nottingham Forest, West Ham United tackle Tottenham Hotspur, and Liverpool play Newcastle. The round of matches will end on Thursday when Leicester City play host Manchester United.
Lagos Talks
91.3.